Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Hightop Sports. Today, we're going to be discussing some breaking things that have happened since we saw you guys on Wednesday. Coach Napier went on the Sean Kelly podcast and alluded to what's going to be the future of the offensive coordinator. So we'll play that clip and then discuss it and talk about it. I'm sure you guys will have all of your opinions in the comment section that I can't wait to read. And then we're going to go over some notable changes. For a few players are switching positions. We'll talk about those, what we like, what we don't like. Is it indifferent? Because we'll have to wait and see. Most of the changes I think are going to be okay. There's one in particular that I have, it's a little bit of a head scratcher, but not for bad reasons. Just I've got questions. Let's go and roll the intro and we'll get into it. All right, so let's talk about first order of business. Obviously, it's going to be Coach Billy talking about the offensive coordinator with Sean Kelly. I mean, that's the first thing that you guys all clicked on. I'm sure want to hear what he had to say. It's a great interview, about 45 minutes long, on the Sean Kelly Gator Tales podcast with, again, Sean Kelly, voice of the Gators. Look, I love it. Sean just kind of hit him right in the mouth at 13 minutes in, saying, hey, what's going to happen with the offensive coordinator position? Are you going to continue to play the calls? And here's what Coach Billy had to say.
You still want to call the plays offensively? And will you at this point? Do you know?
Yeah, I do. I think that big picture-wise, I think we're taking the group of people that we have there, and we're trying to develop some people, groom some people. We've done a ton of work in the offseason to kind of evaluate that, in terms of what that looks like. And I think down the stretch, we've played pretty good offense. We've created a bunch of explosive plays. We've scored points. I think we've got a quarterback that's returning in the same system. I think, ultimately for me, it's about all these other areas being taken care of so that I can do my best for the team in that regard.
So a couple things that we need to break down here. He talked about grooming people to get, to take more responsibility. We heard about Ethan Callaway taking on a bigger role. Maybe that's what he's alluding to there, that he might be an assistant with making some play calls, kind of have to be a second ear or a second voice during this. There was always a lot of times last year that Ethan was calling some plays at some times. So maybe that's what he's talking about. And then again, he says, look, towards the end of the year, the offense started clicking a little bit, started finding the rhythm. And for those of you that are going to be upset hearing that Billy plans to call the offense, you can stop asking me about it. We can stop talking about it. You may be frustrated about it, and that's fine. You have your way with it. But this is something that I've been speaking to this entire time. Is like, look, the offense wasn't necessarily the most atrocious thing on the football field, ranking 43rd overall, I believe. I think 4th or 5th in the SEC behind. I'm adding Texas into this mix, behind Texas, Mizzou, Georgia, Ole Miss was up there as well. So again, these guys been rocking and rolling for quite some time. But the defense obviously was a big factor. Look, I know we want us to score more, but it wasn't the most important, the most dire need of a fix. So I get it. Why switch something completely different? Don't forget, DJ Lagway also bought into this offense. I'm assuming, Billy going to be calling the plays. He talked about things getting off his plate, which we talked about on Wednesday's show, about a glorified babysitter and Ron Roberts being this executive head coach or executive assistant coach or coach of the coaches. Something to note is that the Vikings run a similar system as well. They've got an assistant head coach that oversees the defense as well because they have more of an offensive-minded head coach. So it's not like it's unheard of. Again, it's not what people are liking or wanting, but ultimately, there was a lot of rumors. We've heard a lot of conversations from inside the room that there was interviews. There was definitely potential talks. We've seen it all over Twitter. How much of that is true or not true? Nobody will ever really know, I don't think. But from what we're hearing, there was consistency that Billy was trying to reach out and find somebody. But I think he probably held to a high standard. Like, I'm not going to just go and fill the role with somebody because to make you guys happy. If I'm going to fill in this role, they have to be light years beyond, but also come in and somewhat run a similar style of offense, because I don't want to completely flip this thing on its head again. Graham Mertz was really starting to find a rhythm there at the end, and I have to agree with him. I believe that he was. You get an offense that isn't ranked 131st, who knows what can happen, right? I mean, so a couple of these areas that need some tweaking, you make some big stops. Again, we're 8-5. We're 8-4. The conversation's completely over on its head. I know a lot of you are gonna be pissed about it. Look. I don't make the play calls here, boys, all right? I was just letting you know what's happening, how it's breaking down. I'm just glad that we're moving past it, right? We know where we're at. Some of you may be turned off and say, F it, I'm not listening for the rest of the year, and so be it. That is what it is. I don't know what to tell you. But at least we do know now that Billy is going to, in a sense, continue to call the plays. He always kind of try to avoid it, but he stated right off the rip there, yes, I will plan to continue the call of the plays. And I think he defended himself, obviously, by stating, hey, looking back towards the end of the year, things weren't, that atrocious. But I know Allie made a point to say I think we averaged about 30 scores a game. The final 4 teams average about 34, so we're still short of the mark, right? Obviously, a second year for Graham Mertz, an improved offense. Could we get that average to go up a little bit? And again, him taking some things off his plate with Ron Roberts, could we see an increase? Possibly. Time will tell. Time will tell. But it is something that has been weighing heavy on all of our hearts on what was going to happen, and now we have an answer to it. Moving on, next order of business is some notable changes that are happening. Some guys switching positions. Very interesting. All of it being on the defensive end. Well, one guy is switching to offense from the defense. But again, very interesting because a lot of these guys weren't recruited by the defensive line coach, who is Gerald Chapman, that are mainly seeing a lot of positions, and the secondary is seeing some switches as well. And again, we've got a new coaching staff there alongside the defense. So some big changes. Kelby Collins will be moving from edge to defensive end behind the likes of Slackman and I think it's Cameron James here. Caleb Banks, excuse me. I want to say that Chris McClellan was in this slot last year, so you got to think maybe that's where he's filling in. Also, too, last year, he was supposed to slot behind Justice Boone and Tyreek Sapp in that edge position, but obviously we know Boone went down, which basically bumped Collins up to play more and be more of an impact in that role. 6'5", I believe, 250. Moving him inside a little bit. I don't hate this. Again, but he was an all-SEC, fresh all-SEC honors in 2023 at the edge position. So obviously did some great things at that role. But we're going to get into it. There's someone else stepping into the edge position. Obviously, Boone will be coming back. I think Tyreek Sapp made some big-time moves. TJ Searcy was a real legitimate threat off the edge. So maybe with some more inside help, these guys can explode more coming off the edge. So I don't hate it. I don't think it's a bad move. I actually think I like it with this size. I think it'd be more suitable. So trusting the D-line coach here, see how that works out. Another one here is Gavin Hill, defensive lineman. This guy was a 4-star defensive lineman coming out of the high school last year, and I was interested to see how he would step up in his role on the defensive line. Obviously, a place of depth that we definitely could need. He's switching to the other side of the ball, which that kind of broke a few days ago. 6'3", 245 to tight end. Some of you are going, what the hell is this? He played a lot of tight end in high school. So I'm loving it. Another big target for Graham Mertz alongside this, what I believe, a nice, healthy tight end room with Boardingham, Amir Jackson, and Hanson, and now with Gavin Hill to the mix. This all of a sudden tight end room is a little bit. It's beefy. It's thick. It's tall. You get a guy on there, maybe add some little love to the O line, get some blocking help. I like it. I don't hate this move. Somebody who wasn't playing anyways. Let's get him into the football field. Another one here is Aaron Gates, somebody who's committed before the Billy Napier era, who was bought into being a Gator, came in as a 4-star or 3-star cornerback, I believe, and is now moving to safety. Again, I really don't hate it. 6 foot 180. That's not as crazy as a change as these other two. Kelby Collins isn't as a crazy change, but had success at the edge. I guess is more so why I was saying, like, kind of a big aha moment. Jamarquise Weston, who was a wide receiver, then moved to safety. Didn't really play safety. Was more of a special teams guy last year. Had some big time tackles. I think 5 total tackles in his playing time last year, from what I remember reading. Look. Go watch his special teams clip. He hit somebody. So he's moving to edge. 6'3", 205 with a little bit of edge jack position. So coming up with some speed maybe, right? Playing maybe a little bit of the star, kind of that Jaden Hill, maybe can pull back, play into coverage. I don't hate it. It's like, look, dude, you're a 14th year senior. You're not seeing much of the football field. I believe you'll see the football field if we can move you into this position. Your size, your speed, you're best utilized here. You got good strength. Let's see what we can do with you. I don't hate it. For somebody, again, going in their 5th year who we haven't really seen much of, I'm here for it. Last bit here, we got Brian Taylor, who was the JUCO transfer commit / I guess, and then LJ McCray. This was an interesting one. He was, a lot of noise about him coming in as an edge. It looks like he's going to be moving to the defensive end position as well. I believe they're both him and they're both listed as defensive linemen. So we'll start out at the end position with Banks, Collins, and Slackman. That's how they have them listed as of now. Now, all this can change, obviously, headed into and after the spring game, but it was interesting to see the LJ McCray one. Brian Taylor, I thought he was going to be more of a defensive line guy anyways, But I know there was a lot of talk on LJ being in that edge position at a 6'5", 276. That doesn't mean he won't be on the edge. Again, maybe they're looking to play a more 3-4 defense than a 4-3 than a 3-4. I don't know. Let's see how that kind of changes around. So, yeah, 3-4 versus a 4-3. Excuse me. Yeah, 3-4 instead of a 4-3. So now I'm confused, but we'll see how it plays out. Again, I know a lot of us thought he was going to come in and be playing that edge position. I think he expected to play that. I know that was a lot of talk about him becoming a Gator. It's like, hey, we're going to throw you on that edge. Again, we'll see how it all works out. I like all the changes. Aaron Gates, somebody who we didn't see a lot of time in. We go get some guys from the transfer portal, I would assume, to play a lot of that cornerback positions. I think Triquez Bridges, although he stated playing safety, I see this young man playing cornerback. That's just my thoughts. So with that, I think Aaron Gates sees himself sliding down the roster. Not that he's asking to move, but hey, you'll be best suited here. Gavin Hill, again, I think it's like, hey, you've actually got a lot of guys do this. This D-line to tight end, the tight end position is a weird one. It doesn't really get developed through high school. It's just kind of it's the biggest guy. We got to put him wherever we can. So he was the most talented guy in the football field, obviously in high school, and they just got to put him where they could. And on the D-line, he was 6'3", 245. He could eat up some O-linemen. Again, and then Kelby Collins was the real one that kind of was like interesting move, but we'll see how it plays out. I think he came in as a D-line, maybe. But actually, no, I think he came as an edge. So we'll see. Obviously, let us know down in the comments what you guys think of these changes. They're not, again, drastic. They're interesting. I'm looking forward to them, especially the second half, the Hill, the Aaron Gates, and the Jamarquise Westons. Those three really, really excite me on the potential of what they could be. Because right now, talented guys that we're not seeing on the football field, maybe this change of pace, we'll see them on the football field where they can become impact players and make a difference. So that stuff, I love it. I'm always here for those kind of things. But good stuff. Happy Friday. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe, boys and girls. And I'm sure you guys will let me know your thoughts on the offensive coordinator. You'll let me know your thoughts on the notable changes. Just remember, this wasn't me. I didn't do this, okay? I'm not as opposed to the offensive coordinator position. I know some of you might not like that answer. I think we're all in the same boat when I question the offensive line. The Rob Sale stuff, I'm with all of you guys on that. The offensive coordinator, I think he's done a good job of moving things off of his plate. And look, it's all in here, boys. You know that. He knows that. I know that. All right? So if your job's on the line, do you hand it off to somebody else, an offensive coordinator, or do you take it on your own? That's a question that's left for you to answer. I don't think there's a right answer to it. It just depends on what you feel more comfortable with. Put yourself in that perspective. You're the head coach. You're an offensive guru. You've been calling plays your entire life. Your life's on the line. Who do you want calling the plays? Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you.